I think the hardest part of anyone being a caregiver is that you're constantly on alert. Like you could be going fine and wham.
You need to balance it. You need to understand that person. That is my job, to understand when that pressure valve needs to be removed.
Having to rely on the caregiving of somebody else and kind of being in your situation could also cause somebody to be selfish. Not knowingly, you become self-absorbed because you need the help.
When you look at people that do it for their loved ones, they do it out of all the reasons that they've been brought up to understand about faith and family. It's just hard to see them not be happy.
So I think it's really cool if you're a caregiver and you're watching this today. I hope that you're touched by this. You could look into S.O.A.R nonprofit, and maybe whoever you're taking care of might want to go out and do something that they've never done before.
There's been so many people we've helped, and then I think like...
Welcome back to the Breaking Barriers podcast powered by S.O.A.R. We are excited today because we are going to talk about the unsung heroes. Yes, the caregivers. And I want to be very clear on caregivers, not caretakers, because they are giving of themselves on a regular basis. There are 61 million people in the United States of America that have some sort of a physical disability. And in order for them to break barriers on a daily basis, they need a little bit of help from somebody that is willing to give them care. In many cases, those folks are employed by some sort of a hospital or clinic or therapy, some sort of an organization. But if you look at the amount of people that are brothers, sisters, mothers, aunts, neighbors, cousins, you name it, that are offering up their time to take care of a loved one or a significant other, it is nothing short of breathtaking and brilliant, and it is holy work, if you ask me. So today, I want to take a minute to introduce, first off, the one and only QuadFather, Mr. Brian P. Swift, and his amazing caregiver, and he's very lucky to say his beautiful wife as well. Monica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Monica is a teacher as well. So your life is all about stewardship. It's all about giving, right?
In ways, yes.
Yeah. So where does that come from? Tell us a little bit about kind of your upbringing and some of your values, and how did you get to this point where you're leading such a life of purpose? It's really amazing.
Well, thank you so much. You don't really think about it that way. It's just, I think sometimes you are the way you are. Like you said, I was raised in Chicago. I was the youngest of 6 children, and all girls. And I think I was just the gopher in the family. Hey, Monica, go run and get that. Hey, Monica, go run it down, And we had a Chicago bungalow with 13 steps to the basement.
Good Lord.
So I got my workout running up and down. And I just think that it kind of shapes you who you are.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started.
Okay, so this is amazing. I am also the youngest of 6 kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we were more of the Brady bunch, the
Okay.
three boys, 3 girls. But I totally understand the being the gopher. I was the remote control. It was
Yes.
either channel 2, channel 5, channel 7, U32, and we used to, sit there and turn the dial, and Dad would say, "Hey, look, you got to fix the antennas. It's
That's
not coming
right.
in." Yeah,
That's right.
So you're looking at the original remote control, the younger brother, the youngest of a family. We were the
Yes.
remote control.
Before the remote control was invented. yes.
Absolutely. So, as a teacher, kind of talk a little bit about how you juggle the two. Like you obviously have a career.
Yes.
You've had this career for a long time. Being a teacher is not exactly something that you just leave at the school. You bring it home with you. You've got a great test, and you're instrumental in the lives of children every single year. So how do you kind of juggle the two, where you're a caregiver and a professional?
Well, my job as a teacher has changed over the years. And just like Brian and I have been married for 36 years, and when we were younger, he didn't require as much as he requires now. Just like anybody, when they're younger,
Sure.
everything works a little bit better. So my job as a teacher then was hardly impacted. You get up in the morning and you get yourself ready, you get your husband ready, And you just leave time for that. And then he was off to work and I was off to work. And then when we got home, it's little here and there. So it wasn't much of an issue.
Yeah.
And then when we were adopting our children, I subbed for many years. So once again, though, he was working in corporate. So it didn't really impact it as much as just the beginning of the day, the end of the day. And then when Brian got older, different things happened, and more things were needed, and my job changed again to where I work very close to home, and on those days that I need to come home, I come home at lunch. So I do that 2 times a week usually. And then sometimes he'll have somebody else come and do what he needs medically. And then and that's it. Just leaving time in the morning, the time at night, some of the times when it's care. But the big thing is that we're both older.
Yeah.
So he has more things that need attention. So it's harder now than it used to be.
Sure. I can completely understand that.
But you just adapt.
Brian, I sit here and I look, and you have a smirk on your face. I believe it's one of pride and love, in that you're getting the chance to share the microphone here with Monica. What's on your mind?
No, I'm so blessed, very blessed for what I have in my life, and it takes a lot of work. Adopting 3 kids took a lot of work. I have 3 amazing children that we've been blessed with. The reason they're with us is it's truly a gift from God that has granted us that, and a gift that has allowed us to stay happily married for 36 years. I mean, look at the statistics out there. They're not pretty statistics.
Yeah.
Let alone somebody in a wheelchair, because the perception occasionally is worse than the reality. For 20 years, our reality was we both got up in the morning. She helped me get dressed. I would get into my van, and I'm off for 8, 10, not 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like she said, we both lived our lives, and then we had an understanding, which once we had kids, she wouldn't work full time because we wanted to raise our kids. You have one chance to raise your kids. You have a lifetime to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So she subbed when one of our parents or aunts or uncles could watch the kids. So we didn't have to farm them out, because the cost of having your kids watch
Sure.
is unbelievable.
Unreal.
It will totally offset most jobs. So
It'll cancel one out.
Yes.
at least. Exactly. So, when she talked about getting older, I'm not as spry as I used to be. And getting older causes issues on both sides.
Whether you're disabled or not.
Exactly.
I mean, just the human body.
Exactly. Like 2 years ago, Monica came down with 3 different autoimmune diseases.
Mm.
She was bedridden. You talk about fear. I mean, not just the fear of will she be okay, which is my number one, but the fear also of, like, I have this stuff she does. She helps me get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
She helps me at night. She's bedridden. Now I have got to help care for her.
Mm-hmm.
Not just through me, but through our kids, through our family.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a believer in faith, family, and friends. All of a sudden now, I'm trying to be a caregiver to my caregiver.
Yeah.
So that's what, unfortunately, age does to all of us. There's going to be a time when you need somebody else. And we were blessed to really rely on our family to take care and help both of us. But my kids have been brought up understanding that there's some things they do that most kids don't do. And that has built character, amazing character in these kids, my kids today, who are, in their 20s, and my oldest son in their 30s. But Monica has fallen on some tough times. And thank God she, through the grace of God and a lot of hard work, she came out of it and still has good days and bad days, because it's not something you get rid of. What she has isn't something that you take a pill for and it's all of a sudden gone. She has medication she's on. She has to watch certain things that she does. And we do that as a family, knowing, that we do have some limitations as you get older.
Yeah.
but we make it work.
So I'm curious because Brian, as we know, at 17 years old, you had a football accident, and we find ourselves in a wheelchair, right? But you didn't. You met after that,
Yes.
right? So I wonder if, and maybe you could speak to this just from your interaction with dealing with folks in similar conditions through S.O.A.R, your nonprofit. Is there a difference between meeting somebody in that capacity and just from the jump you're like, well, this is how life is, right? Versus somebody, let's say a married couple, and then something happens, and all of a sudden a complete 180 in what life looks like. Can you speak a little bit to that, and maybe advice that you would have on that, or your perspective on that?
Well, I think it's easier when you only know a person as the way they are. And I think it's been easier for our kids because dad has always been in a wheelchair. So that's just dad. So as I've known Brian only in a wheelchair, that's just Brian. And when you're young, I mean, I got engaged at 19 and married at 21. So you really don't know anything then. Yeah, I was young. And you just don't think about things like that. You're young, you have energy, you just do it, and you're like, okay, and as time went on, like, people wouldn't realize what it took for us to get ready to go to a party.
Sure.
We could have a flat tire, medical issues, and which we had numerous times, and then you have to show up somewhere and go, hi, I'm here.
Yeah.
Let's have a good time. And that gets stressful.
Sure.
That gets hard. But once again, when you're young, you just kind of bounce back from those things. As you get older, it's draining, and you just don't have the energy. So it is easier if you go in knowing these things. But when something happens and all of a sudden your husband or your wife or your partner isn't the same, and now, wow, like, Johnny always shoveled the snow. Johnny always fixed the toilet. Johnny always did. And now Johnny can't do that. Or the same thing if it's Mary who always did those things, and now they can't do it. Mary always did this. And now you have to make an adjustment. And that's when it really comes down to faith, family, friends, and how are you going to get through this?
So on a personal level, I've only met you, I think, 2 or 3 times now. And every time that I've met you, I've noticed that you have a strength about you, but you also have a really good sense of humor. I would think no less, knowing Brian, you'd have to have a great sense of humor because he's always jabbing that. Yeah. I'm curious, like, what do you do to keep your level head? Because you had mentioned it is draining, and you need your own time and your own space, and you need to, be able to be fully Monica. You can't be Monica, the caregiver of Brian, right? You have to be you. So what advice would you have on that? And maybe what do you do to overcome that drainage, to refill the tank, and to make sure that you live a life of fulfillment beyond the fulfillment that you get from being a caregiver and a wife?
I think the hardest part of anyone being a caregiver is that you're constantly on alert. Like, you could be going fine and wham, you get the call or you get the thing and you got to run, and then you're going somewhere. You got a flat tire, you got, issues, you have, a bladder infection of this, things that happen, or, wounds that we've had to deal with, or medical issues. And that is that's the thing that is that constant.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to not think about that all the time.
So there's no, I can fall into a pattern where I go, on Monday, I know I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesday, I know I'm doing that. And on Wednesday, but in your life, Mondays, it could be very different because you don't know what's coming.
And it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
But when it does happen,
gets you off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But if you let that take over your life, then you aren't going to have a life. And you brought up a good point. How do you get your own time? And that is very important. You have to have your own time. And even if you have to work it in a little bit here and a little bit there, because that's what we have to do now.
So how do you do it?
I like to watch football.
Oh my God, I love this. Who else loves this lady? Come on.
We had to get cable.
Years and years and years ago.
Let's go. This is my kind of lady right here. If I'm gonna have a caregiver, she better watch football with me. Let's go.
We had to get extended cable because my wife got frustrated not being able to catch the Thursday night or Sunday night.
Understood.
And not only is she a football fan, she's a college football fan.
Yeah.
And a college basketball fan.
She also happens to have a gambling addiction. I'm just kidding.
That's one thing I don't have.
So we find time to do things together.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to push her out the door.
You do. He
go.
does.
That's
Meet with your friends, meet with your sisters, go do that. And I'm always the worried one. Are you okay? Do you have everything you need? Is blah 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 blah. Is this going to happen? But I try to do that. I like to put puzzles together.
Nice.
I like to read. Do I have to steal those moments here and there? Yes. The one thing that probably bothers me the most is the interrupted sleep, because medically he needs something in the middle of the night.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, but at my age, I get up in the middle of the night for me too. So that's about the only thing. But definitely, you need to have your own time. If you're not doing that, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And it is true, as I've gotten older too, my anxiety raises, and he's got to say, go have fun, go read your book, go watch TV, go do something, so that I'm not always, because it's sometimes it's hard when it's like, especially now that the kids are older, they're not here all the time. It's like, you go to work and then you have to cook dinner and then you have to clean up and then you have to do this and you have to do that. And sometimes it's like, ugh. But then I need to say, well, I'm going to take 15 minutes and read my book.
Yeah.
Or put my puzzle together.
I love that.
Being on the other side of that, I think what's really helped us it also is me being cognizant of where is she at? Where is she at? Stress level. How was your day at work? I mean, outside of the fact I could read her like a book. I mean, I know the minute she walks, I can close my eyes and I can tell by the time she goes from the front door to the counter, the way she walks, the sound of her breaths in and out, the way she sets things down, whether it was a good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
You should know these things after 36 years.
You'd hope.
But trying to be cognizant and say, listen, go out with your friends, go have fun, go do this. She is very hesitant, even though I try to push her out to go, because you need that time. And the other thing is we have combined loves of many things. After dinner, our ritual is we both love to go out for a walk.
Yeah.
And we will,
weather permitting.
Sure. It's -3 today, so we're not going to have, that's not going to be happening. It might
a short one.
Yeah,
bedroom to the family room. But no, we do things together. That being said, you need to spend time away from each other.
Yeah.
You need to balance it. You need to understand that person. That is my job, to understand when that pressure valve needs to be released.
I'm glad that you said that, Brian, because we've talked on previous episodes that, mental illness can make you very selfish, right? And I can say this because I coming from a place of knowing, having to rely on the caregiving of somebody else and kind of being in your situation could also cause somebody to be selfish. Not knowingly, right? But you become self-absorbed because you need the help. Much like depression, you become very self-absorbed because you're constantly in your thoughts. So you're dealing with that. The fact that you are intentional and very aware that you need to kind of release the gasket, if you will, and essentially say, hey, look, go do this, go do that. That's amazing advice, I think, for folks that are in a similar situation to you, where it's a spouse / caregiver, to make sure that there aren't blurred lines there.
One of the things that you really need to establish is, I am your wife. I am not your nurse.
Yes.
I might do things to help you medically, but
Yeah.
that is not my job.
Man, those boundaries have got to be set.
It's very hard because that's sometimes,
Those lines blur.
yes,
And
they
in
do.
the last 10 years, that's something we've had to cross. Because we were so blessed that we would come and go. If I got an infection, I wouldn't stay home and sleep. I'd get up and go to work. If I was peeing blood, I would still get up and function. I didn't rely on her to stick around. It was my job to kind of suck it up. But in the last 10 years, there have been other things that we've had to do medically. And I don't think I accept it any easier now as a man than I did 30 years ago.
I'm certain. Yeah.
I hate counting on people. I hate relying on people for the stuff I have to. She knows it irks me to have to call her for something or ask her for something. But I can't let it affect our relationship. I can't let it get me selfish. I can't let it, my frustration, my burden be her burden.
Absolutely.
Because of the love and respect and honor that I share for her and with her. I have to know, because she won't do it. Women are so selfless, way more than men. Way more than men. And she won't release the valve.
Yeah.
I have to tell her a lot of times, just go sit and chill. Just go do your puzzles. Go whatever. She's not used to that kind of time. And you know what? And you have to be rewarded for things. We go on vacations, but with
That's
that,
my thing every
she
year.
wants a vacation.
I wanna go
every
on
year.
vacation.
Yeah.
It makes me drive
Damn it.
thousands of miles.
That's right.
And not get out of the van. But you know what? And as I've gotten older, it's not as easy. It's painful. But you know what? I owe that to her.
Yeah. You know, Brian, it's interesting because I hear you and I so appreciate what you're saying. I think sometimes you are so beyond where I think a lot of other people are mentally, because the fact that you're so independent and there's so many things that you do that I think that you lose sight of how amazing it is that you do that. Speaking of that, one of those things is the non-for-profit that together you partner to operate, that helps folks to get out in nature, to go do things that are on their bucket list, to dream a little bit, to not sit on the sidelines. By the way, if you want to contribute your time, talent, or treasure to that website is www.soarnonprofit.com. I digress. I think what's really, really cool, though, is that you're partnering on that as well. So you partner on the caregiving, you partner on life, and now you partner on business as well. And you're impacting lives. So I think it's really cool. If you're a caregiver and you're watching this today, I hope that you're touched by this. But I think there's another level that you could take to this where you could look into S.O.A.R nonprofit, and maybe whoever you're taking care of might want to go out and do something that they've never done before. And simply by reaching out to Brian and Monica, they have a non-for-profit that can make that happen. So talk a little bit about how you partner on that and what you're really proud of and what vision you have for the future.
And I'll jump in because she needed something else on her plate.
Yeah.
Like she needed a hole in her head.
Yeah, no, clearly.
You're raising 3
You've
kids.
got the gambling addiction. You've got the...
Right. I mean,
she's a GM for 3 fantasy football teams.
yeah, she runs, a couple leagues.
A couple leagues.
She needed more on her plate, like she needed a hole in her head.
Yeah.
My mom used to say, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Right.
She's crazy organized, and she knew that we were blessed for us to do so much with our kids, to be able to go out in nature and go to a beach, to go to a lake, to go to the ocean, to go hunting with my kids, to teach them all our. She understood the value of getting out, and she understood how blessed we were as a family, and I was as a man to be able to get outside, and she recognized what it did to me when I go out, whether it's riding, working out outside, taking my computer. You're a different person.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I haven't heard this story. So you're telling me that Monica had been watching your reaction to the things that together you were doing, your independence, checking things off the bucket list, doing the miraculous, doing the things that people say you're not supposed to do that, right? And so you're analyzing that and watching that, and then together you collaborate to say we should be doing this for other people. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, it was very, he makes it sound like it was so easy. Oh,
Yeah.
we just did this. Oh, we just did that. It wasn't. It wasn't easy.
Yeah,
at
because
all.
you didn't have the tools. Like you had to
Exactly.
makeshift everything.
Like, he loves to hunt, but the only hunting that was, for the disabled was downstate on Thanksgiving weekend every year. Like, who wants to leave Thanksgiving and go Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Well, we did it for years because that's the only place that was available. Or try to get fishing, but you can't get close to the water because you're dragging through grass. And, or you don't have the proper like attachment where you could put a fishing pole.
Yeah.
You can't have it. So you don't have the proper equipment. And it was just never easy.
Yeah.
Now, we did a lot of stuff, but we tackled it. And thank God we had the kids. The kids would help drag them places and stuff. But
So the word accessibility really it has multi layers to it because you were
Yeah.
doing these things, but none of this stuff was accessible to you yet. So you're makeshifting, you're patching things together to
exactly.
live a life, not just get by, but to actually live a life.
Yeah,
And so
take
your
it as
thing is
whole
how do you
share-
make this
right.
accessible for others?
Exactly, because we didn't want, like, one time we had to take his old chair and it folded up, so we stuck a board in between when it folded so that he could get into the door of the camper door of my dad's camper.
Oh my gosh.
So
you guys
I'm
are like a
like,
Swiss Army knife over
oh,
here.
it was,
You have to learn to be a
Yes.
MacGyver.
Yes.
Yeah.
If and you do, and we did that together, and we look back, and the memories now, I think, are what drive us because we were both able to keep things in perspective, and I think perspective is so important. Like, this is a moment in time. So yeah, we had to make my chair smaller. How do we do this? There's nobody around. Well, just I'm a common sense guy. Well, the chair folds, so I know we can make it smaller. How do we keep it that way? I mean, just one of the ways we did that. And don't forget, we're working in a time in the 80s and 90s through a lot of this. There was no technology. There was no light.
No, you had to get makeshift.
Yes.
My first wheelchair was 55 pounds. This was no cell phone.
and he's not the smallest person.
Yeah,
and
no.
I'm pretty small.
Yeah.
I'm like 5'2", 105 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was always a
Good
task.
thing you bench 400 pounds. You should see you can't see it under the sweatshirt, but she's got guns.
It's one of the things we do together.
Yeah.
We work out together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We exercise together. And there are times when she needs her space. So she'll go in the other room, she'll put her headset on, hop on the elliptical or whatever we have out there, Peloton, and go escape.
Yeah.
Go escape. I mean, she needs that time. And there are times we're out walking. And when I say out walk, I'm talking 2-3 miles. Well,
we used to do so much more of that. And then when I got sick 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I can now, thank God, do it a little bit more. But I've lost a lot of the stamina. But that was hard because we couldn't even do that together.
Yeah. I'm sure that was very difficult. I'm curious, Monica. Well, I know this from Brian. He's read feedback from folks that you've helped. Whether it's the little girl that you talked about that you got the trike for, and mom and dad and grandparents were in the garage and it was like an unveiling. And he lights up when he talks about that. I see you lighting up, smiling already because you're thinking about these things. So I'm really curious if you could kind of, in your own words, from the heart, give us an idea of like some of the stories that, when the days are tough, you think of that and you go, that's why we're doing this.
Well, a lot of it, yeah. I know the little girl one touches your heart. She was only 4. But there's been so many people we've helped. And then I think like, wow, if he only had that back when we were doing it, it would have been so much easier. Or wow, like this is going to be game changer for not only this person, but their family.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we helped out, and I can't remember his name right now, but he needed something for like a scuba watch so that he could go scuba diving with his family. So now the whole family gets to do it. I think sometimes people don't understand, like, if you don't have somebody with a disability in your life, that person with a disability is excluded from a lot.
And they're not electing to be excluded.
No,
Like it would be
no.
like if my family said, "Hey, we're going scuba diving," I'd be like, "I'll be on the golf course."
Yeah.
But to be excluded because
Right.
that's hard.
And
Like-
not to jump in, but I'm going to jump in. Last year, where did we go for vacation?
Palm Beach Shores,
So
Florida.
I drove to Palm Beach Shores, Florida. And the reason being, I mean, obviously a lovely location, beautiful. We don't get to the ocean often, rarely.
Well, because
And
wheelchairs. and
How
the
do you?
beach,
Yeah.
So-
makes-
something I vowed 35 plus years ago was to never let my disability get in the way of my family. We rolled on the pier, and you could finish the story, and obviously there's no way for me to get to the ocean.
So we went looking to see if they had like a beach chair.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told they did. But then they said, oh no, it belongs to the public beach over there. And I went to go talk to the gentleman over there, and they're like, oh no, he has to bring his, vehicle over here, and then we have to come down here. Well, there's no way to get to the beach chair. So people think.
And you're
they're doing
asking a disabled person to take 15 extra steps.
And
Like how's that helpful?
Right. And so people just don't get it.
Mm.
And that's the thing. And sometimes you get aggravated, but it's like they don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
But as you're trying to talk to somebody, you don't need people to be rude to you and things
Mhm.
like that, because you're like, well, can't you just move it up there? Well, no, they have to come down. Well, there's no way to get down
Yeah.
here. So because everybody thinks sometimes when you're doing like a beach chair, this is the other thing. Well, it's going to be for a kid
Yeah.
who's coming with their family. Well, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's the dad, sometimes it's the mom, and they don't weigh 30 pounds that you can pick them up and put them in this thing.
I think it's a great message for folks that maybe don't have somebody in their life or in their immediate circle that is disabled. And perhaps the person that was at the beach to recognize that you might be put out for 15 minutes. The person that you're dealing with has been put out for years, extended period of time, and their caregiver as well. So I'm sorry if you're put out for 15 minutes. Maybe let's have some grace and understand that if you went the extra mile to be of benefit to that person, I'm certain that will come back to you threefold. It would just be great if people would think more like that when they feel put out because, well, we couldn't possibly do that. That would mean I'd have to work harder for 15 minutes to make somebody's life a little bit easier and better.
And you see more of that than you do the other.
It's really sad.
And I had to beg them to go out to the ocean because they were like, no, we won't go. And I would have felt horrid if they did not go out to the ocean and enjoy it. Like that would have ruined my vacation.
Yeah.
Because that's what we went there for. And as the father, as the husband, it's my responsibility to suck it up. I mean, we've gone to Disney and I watched my whole family get on rides, and I watch them from down here with a smile, waving, because I provided that opportunity. Does it suck that I can't go on those rides? Absolutely. Did it suck sitting by the pool while my family's by the ocean? Sure it did. I can't ever let them see that.
No.
Because that is just not who I am, and that is not their fault. I wanted them to experience what we went there for. And you just man up and you do it with a smile.
Yeah. Well, you're doing this for a lot of folks, but to the point you had said, what if we had this in the 80s and 90s? My thought process is, what if you had double the grants? What if you had double because 10%, right? As a 501c3, 90% of the revenue is coming in through grants, through the state, and so on. It's that extra 10% that comes from the general public that finds it in their heart to latch onto something that is meaningful to them, that makes a big difference, and decides to contribute to that. And so that 10% imagine if that was double. How many more lives could you impact? Imagine if it was triple. How many? It's because that extra 10% is not going to. It's not like 1 for 1. It's like it's like the rule of 72 kind of a thing. Like it's like critical mass. Like you get. So you get so much over your break even that if your money tripled, you're really helping 10x.
Exactly. It's exponentially building up. When we help somebody and provide them with a therapeutic trike, an outdoor wheelchair, whatever it may be, a hand cycle, you're affecting a whole family.
Yeah.
You're affecting a village sometimes of people in a way that is far beyond the money. How much money does it cost to provide somebody with hope? What's it worth to provide somebody with freedom, with accessibility? What could you put a price tag on a smile and on hope? We do, but that's what you're providing. You're not providing just a wheelchair. You're providing hope and independence and accessibility. That's what that's where your dollars are going. And if you can put a price on it, go ahead.
Yeah.
Obviously, 3 times the amount of grants that we could hand out would be awesome to do. That'd be a great problem.
I just think for a brand, for a company, right? Like you get around the holidays, right? It's around Thanksgiving, and they decide that they're going to give out pies to their 100 employees. It's a great gesture. Don't get me wrong. But imagine if they took that money instead and they gave a card to their 100 employees that said, we have decided on behalf of, in your name, to donate to this to help 10 folks with disability go camping, go hunting, go kayaking, a little girl ride on a bike that can't ride on a bike, so it's riding on a trike, like whatever it might be. I just feel like this younger generation is craving corporate responsibility and they're craving giving back to society. I think they've watched generations make mistakes, politicians lie, banks be greedy, insurance companies screw people over. And I think the younger generation has had enough of it. They're not overly driven financially. They're more driven for societal improvements, which there's a good part and a danger. They might push it too far, and we might need to bring them back a little bit to capitalism, and maybe the good parts is more of a Christianity, faith-based type of a thing. However, not sorry. People that run companies could really play into that from a recruiting standpoint, from an increased productivity standpoint, from a motivating and inspiring your team, from building your brand, creating a brand identity, driving your core values. There's just a multitude of things that you could do instead of doing the little picnic and party. Those things are nice, but imagine being able to say to your organization that you changed the lives of 10 families instead of giving you a pie.
I know that may sound like we're straying away from being a caregiver, but the time she gives to S.O.A.R, it is amazing. The time what she has to do for myself. Now our kids are older, so we cross that bridge. There's less time given, but as we've heard, there's more time we have to give ourselves to be able to do the things we need to for S.O.A.R, for people who need it far more than we needed. And so this is somebody could send in a grant request saying, I need a caregiver with me so I can go hunting.
Okay, so
get out hunting without a caregiver.
I'm not trying to stray away from the topic because it is in fact about the caregiver. However, I would imagine that the caregivers get as much value out of what you are doing for folks as the person who needs the care. For instance, when you went down to those hunting trips, Monica, correct me if I'm wrong, you felt just as good of finding a way to jimmy rig whatever to help Brian to be able to live that experience as Brian probably felt having the experience. And his gratitude towards you probably lit you up.
To be honest, I did not like sitting out in the cold.
I'm certain of that.
But no, it is. when you get the deer or you get the thing and you're like, wow, we did this.
Yeah.
You know?
And you did it together. So that's the reason I bring it up, because it is about the caregiver, but SOAR is not. We keep going back to this thing where we're talking about the person that has the disability and how SOAR is impacting them, but they're also impacting the caregiver and the total family. And that's huge.
When we decided to do SOAR, well, before we did that, we had gone to an abilities expo in about 2014. And we saw, what was the attachment again? The Firefly, was it? And basically, you hook it to your wheelchair and it could almost become like a bike. So it was expensive. It was $2,000.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of money.
Sure.
But it was like, wow, look what we could do. We love the outdoors. We like to do our walks. Now we could ride bikes together. So we wound up looking around, and Brian was saying, wouldn't it be great if we could like, hey, you want that accessible equipment over there? Here you go. We'll pay for it. So that's how the whole concept began. Because when we got home and we put that attachment on his bike, I got my bike out. We took a picture. I'm like, this is the first time we're ever riding bikes together.
Crazy.
So I was like, wow.
And then we took it to Colorado and got to ride bikes. Went on a 20-mile ride with the entire family.
And that's amazing, because the $2,000 expenditure, from the standpoint of all of the memories that are going to be made and the freedom and all that, it's a no-brainer. However, the way the system is set up, you're not allowed to work a certain amount of hours. So you don't really have a whole lot of income coming in. The insurance companies and the government kind of have a little bit of a thing happening here that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me and probably a whole bunch of others. But essentially, that $2,000 item becomes a huge ticket item to somebody who's on a very controlled budget. If they're not able to have a career, be a lawyer, and there are folks, you know, that have a disability but also work and are able to bring in the income, and they're not really worried about what the government or the insurance companies. But there are folks that don't have that capability. They need the government to help them.
And the percentage of people that are out there with disabilities working is so small to where they're making a very livable wage.
Yeah.
Not just a get by wage, but a wage that can provide them with a decent car, a decent standard of living, not just surviving. It's so small. The walks that the disabled people do on Washington have to start to have a bigger effect with the way every state controls your ability to get support in the form of a caregiver, get support in the form of maybe a part-time job. You know, what happens is you're basically trading out dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
You know, and it just doesn't become worth it. It's just so hard. And before this, on Facebook, I put out a question: what would people like to know, from a caregiver? Some of it I was able to do some research out and find that, today's people in terms of caregiving, what do they charge? $250 a day is probably on the low end to come in and stay with somebody for 24 hours.
Yeah.
That would be on the low end, out of your pocket, $250, my bad, for a day, $250 for a day of staying overnight and caring. When you look at people that do it for their loved ones, and they do it for, as you said, their angels, they do it out of all the reasons that they've been brought up to understand about faith and family. It's just hard to see them not be happy in some way, shape, or form. That is my job, to make sure that her being my caregiver isn't the prime role of her life, because she has things she wants to do. She has things she needs to do. Monica, as we wrap up, what advice would you give somebody? And don't forget, she became a caregiver before technology, before Chat GPT, before AI, before all this stuff. It was kind of like raising a kid. They don't come with manuals.
Yeah.
So what advice, maybe a couple tidbits of what you've learned on
Okay.
your road of being a caregiver?
I would say establish your relationship, be it in our case, husband and wife. And caregivers should be far down the list. Make that clear, because if you don't, then it becomes, it overtakes it. It becomes your job, and you can't allow that, because then you don't.
Then it's a burden.
Yes. Unless it is your job and that's what you're getting paid for. You
Then
can
it's
go
not a burden.
home
It's your check.
It's your job.
Yeah.
And then you can go home and do the rest of your things. But if you are in a place that you're not getting paid for it, and this is basically what you have to do, yeah, establish those roles. Take time for yourself, and it's not always easy. I understand. And it might not be every day. You might not get it every day, just like everybody else doesn't get self-time every day.
Yeah. I don't like myself enough to want to have it every day. I'd go nuts.
You know, and I agree with you. I'm glad there's only one of me. And if I'm alone with me too long,
Yeah.
I don't like me.
Sometimes I just kick the crap out of me. Get in a full
I
fight.
like me. I'd buy myself
Well, that's
a Coke.
fine.
I
Yeah.
like me.
Okay.
But I like my alone time. But and the other thing is it is a very high anxiety, stressful place to be. And if you don't address that, then nothing's good is going to come of that. And it's a fine line that you walk between, just being aware of a situation and letting it overtake you. And at times I've let it overtake me, and it's not good. So you just have to, and it's hard, especially if you're an anxious person like I am. But I would say those three things are really what people need to know.
And the third one, you really do have to find releases.
Yeah.
You've got to have pressure valve releases. And my guess is there's a lot of caregivers like her that need somebody else to push that valve for her.
Yeah.
And say, it's your turn. Go do a puzzle. Go for a walk. Go, all your sisters get together.
Yeah.
It is everybody's job, my job, to be that watchful eye.
Have that awareness.
Absolutely. And that person you're taking care of, this conversation should happen.
Yeah. It's happening right now on a podcast. Monica, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We appreciate it very much. Your perspective is invaluable. It's absolutely amazing. And I hope those of you that are watching this, if you have somebody that is a loved one or someone in your circle that is living a life with a disability, or in fact is a caregiver, that you'll share this episode with them. And by the way, if you would like to find a way to collaborate with not only the Breaking Barriers podcast powered by S.O.A.R, but also S.O.A.R nonprofit, www.soarnonprofit.com. It's very easy to reach out to either Brian or I on social media. Please leave a comment on our YouTube page. Let us know what you're thinking. If there's somebody that you think in the greater Chicagoland area that should be a guest, perhaps somebody that has a disability that's overcoming and breaking barriers on a regular basis, or somebody that you think just would be an amazing guest to have on to inspire others because they're breaking barriers, we'd love to hear from you. And please let us know. Once again, you have been on with the QuadFather. That is Brian P. Swift. I am John Morris. That has been Monica. Thank you for tuning in. Cheers.